4th of July.
Okay, so it's the 4th of July, and I'm here to show you what's growing in my garden today, because a lot has changed since the last time we've shown you stuff. So just wanted to show you what things look like in early July. Oh yeah, you like the steps. So over here we have our blue pea pods, also called King Tut beans. And what they are, they're a very bluish purple color pea pod essentially. It's a very tough outside. We tried eating them and you can't. And we just have them growing up these nets, 2 sets. What's interesting that we're trying to figure out right now is how dried out the bottom part turned as the plant went up. It still looks okay towards the top, but yeah, I guess it just kind of grows upward. So. Just did those from seed, so that was easy enough. Got some gooseberry with a weed growing in it. This one's just barely growing. You can see there's just a couple of pieces here that have grown this year, but we need to get this into the ground and let it sit for next winter and give it some manure. So over here we have the pink champagne currants. This is the 2nd year I've had this plant, so I think it's a 3rd year plant. Now what's interesting is I left these on the vine. These started ripening about 3-4 weeks ago, and I've just been leaving them here ever since. And now they're perfectly sweet. Before they were kind of bitter, kind of tart, but leaving them on the vine really helped. One thing I'm seeing as a problem though is how thick this is. It's very dense, so we need to open it up more for next year. So we're going to cut it back quite a bit at the end of the season. Let's see, here's one of Reiko's tomatoes. I think the only thing that is worth mentioning about this is how lack of tomatoes there is because it's not planted in the ground. We have it just in this pot here, and it's really not producing a whole lot of fruit right now. So you really need to get your plants in the ground if you really want them to flower and make tomatoes. Here we have our French radishes. These are like the long skinny ones. I call them finger radishes because they look like fingers. They grow pretty quick. We grew these out in maybe a month, and yeah, they're ready. Here's what they look like as babies, so you can just keep replanting them as you pull them. So they're good. Some strawberry, not doing so well, but it is alive and it's making a couple of strawberries, but this is very small for a strawberry plant obviously, so we're not going to get a whole lot. This is some oregano we planted from seed. It's just starting to take off a little bit, so same thing. I think we need to get this one in the ground. So 2 more herbs that we have grown back here are rosemary, which I think we just bought this as a small plant, and this one in particular, this is some basil. Now, we saved this from a pizza that we got back in the winter time. We took a little clipping of the basil and had it in a little glass of water, let it just sit for about 2 or 3 months. Then we planted it out here in the early spring, and this is what it's turned into. It just keeps growing. It actually got small for a little bit, but now it's doing crazy again. And it smells really good. The point is you can take maybe cut up basil and replant it and keep it going and turn it into a big basil plant again. So these are edamame soybean plants, and as you can see here, the purple flowers, that's the baby beans that are coming out now. So soon we'll start to see it a little bit more. They're just starting to open up, but yeah, these are all going to be the baby beans. So another couple plants that we have here, this is the monkshood. This is going to turn into some very beautiful blue flowers in the fall. This is a late fall plant, so it just grows, and it's doing great.
Don't touch the leaves.
Oh right, yeah, you cannot touch the roots because they're poison.
Even the flowers.
Yeah, so it's a don't touch plant, but it looks all right.
Touch the leaves and brush your eyes.
No thanks. So the other thing we have here, this is our bay leaf plant, and we had pulled a lot of them from last year when we were making roast beef and other stews over the winter time. You can see that it's filled all the way back in. It's grown up a little bit taller, and now it also has this little side piece coming out. So it's starting to go in all these different directions. Another one right here. So, and down here even. So, and then what's this? This is green beans. So these are some green beans also starting to flower. So within the next week or two, we'll start having beans out here. And then if it keeps the pace of last year, we had beans from now until October. So we'll see what happens with all these beans. So up here is our hops plants, and as you can see here, all the flowers, those are the baby hops starting to come out now. And the plants are really starting to go out here along our deck. We've just got these strings and the plant just keeps going, so we just keep on giving it more string to grow on. And then what you start getting now is we have all these secondary pieces, so we got to tie these up. So you start getting vines going in every direction, so you have to keep tying things up and making sure it can still grow. And yeah, these are all starting to flower. Crazy. So these are some blackberries that we have growing out here. This is the second year we had this, and it looks like it's doing okay. They're just getting bigger and bigger. So another 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Okay, so these are more of the French radishes here, and they're just about ready to pull. Can I pull one? It's like a pear. Oh yeah, that's what they turn into. So that's a pretty cool looking radish right there. Okay, and then over here, wait. So over here we have the red currant bush, and this is one of the ones I bought this year from the gooseberry guy. What's interesting about it to me is these are definitely like the smallest currants I've ever seen before. They're tiny, and I mean, they're sweet, they're crunchy, they're good for eating, but they're just real small. All right. Now these are a really fun midsummer flower called Blazing Star, and you can see it starts at the very top, and then what it's going to do is it's going to just slowly open up as it blooms, and it'll do this for 3-4 weeks. So it's going to just change this whole month. They just started going. Some of them haven't even opened yet, so these are fun to watch over the next few weeks. Then we have some smaller ones over here. They were planted last year, but they didn't come up, but you can see they came up this year. Compared to these, they look like they're a couple weeks later, so we'll start to see these probably in mid-July, I'm thinking. But just a different species of the same thing. And then back here also we have some lilies that are getting ready to open up. And just lots more of these rising stars, I guess. Blazing stars. Okay, so this is our dill. This is where we found a lot of the caterpillars that we have inside in our butterfly hotel. And then over here we have some poppies that we got from Baba's place. She just gave me one of the poppy flowers, and inside were the poppy seeds, and Reiko planted them over the winter, and now they've turned into something. Now we just lost one of them here. You can see an empty stem. It was already opened up as well. It was blooming, but we had some really bad wind last night in a storm, and off it went. But at least there's 2 others up here. There's one back here. There's another one here. So we'll still get some more. So these are the Niagara grapes. We didn't get anything from this last year, and we just spent the entire summer regrowing out the vines to run along the strand. And it looks like it really paid off, because this year, the way this has opened up and the grapevine has come out, you can see all the grapes growing in here, and they're in really dense bunches. And what's interesting about these is that they're a smaller sweet grape, so these are just really good for eating. They're good snacking grapes. This is the rose bush. We already had a bunch of roses bloom this year, so it's just back in grow mode right now. I always think it's interesting how the edges are very red and then it turns green. So in between you get these kind of brownish colors where it's somewhere between red and green. And that's Reiko's Tomato City. So these are shishito peppers. They're like a small, sweet not too spicy pepper, great for sauteing with. And we bought these as little plants this year, and they're doing really, really well. So these are about the size you pick them at. They don't get much bigger than this, so the ones that are a little bit more round would be perfect to pick up and grow with them. Something like this, I don't think it's going to extend that much further. So yeah, we got one of our tomato plants kind of taking over this one back here. So there's a total of 4 plants, 2 back here, but Mr. Giant Tomato here is really taking over this corner. But now that you can see it, you can see all the tomato plants as well, and they're coming in big bunches this year. So last year we didn't have a whole lot of luck, but this year they're coming in really thick, bunches of 3, 4, 5 tomatoes on each plant. So Kramer, what are you doing back there? So right here we have a ginger plant. This was just a bulb that we had that we put in the ground. Is that correct? Yeah, you don't have to do anything, you just put it in the ground and it's gonna make some new stuff. Then over here, all these beans that are growing, these are some baba beans that she had. They're like a fava bean, right? Baba's fava beans. And she just gave me a couple of the empty pods, not empty pods, but the dried pods from last year. And we just planted them by seed, straight into the ground. Did we start them ahead, or we just put the beans in the ground? Beans in the ground. Cool. So these are starting to come into bloom, like that's basically ready. Okay. So these are figs. And you can see the figs are starting to come out now. And what's interesting about the fig trees is you can see this is a new branch. It's more of a green color. It's not dark brown, but it's green because it's a new branch. That's where all the figs are really growing well from. Every time there's a leaf, there's a fig. Leaf, fig, leaf, fig. So those are really coming out. So we're gonna get a lot of figs off of this tree. After we cut down all that tree last spring, I thought, you know, we wouldn't get a whole lot of figs this year, and it's the opposite. This tree is going crazy right now. So we will be having a fig party this fall. And back here, the grapes, these are more of the Concord grapes. These are the ones that come in from the neighbor's yard, but they've done a great job growing out here as well. So here we have Mr. Bumblebee, pump, 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 on top of the daylily. And they just love these daylilies. They come back here and they hang out. They really like it. Now down here, this is the red raspberry plant, and it is making raspberries, as you can see. Now it looks like it's almost ready, but you flip it over and no, it's still pink. So it still needs a couple more days on the plant before these are ready to eat. They're small also. They'll plump up in the last couple days. They'll get nice and big. So just have to be patient. So that's what's growing in our garden today. Thanks for watching. Happy 4th of July, and have a good one. See you next time. What's growing in my garden?